So, hey guys, Chauzu here. So the first video from me in a while, at least freshly recorded. I'm still feeling a bit under the water, whatever you call it. Not fully healthy, but good enough to record. I would have recorded this earlier, but in the middle of everything I actually forgot my iPad at work, and without that I can't record, so this is basically the earliest opportunity I had. But yeah, let's jump into it. We got the download now for the second part of this very likely 3-part celebration. I stand by my opinion that dropping a Kid and Law versus Big Mom batch after Gear 5 is pure madness from my opinion. Sure, I think they did a good job with these legends, but this is very old by now, and like before Gear 5 this could have been quite hyped. Now, despite being pretty good, like I don't see it garnering as much interest as it could. This should have been part 1 and then Gear 5 part 2 a bit later. Like, that's my opinion, but it is what it is. 3 parts. Part 1 is going to be like usual, all legends available, yada yada. Probably can't recommend pulling. I will probably pull there anyway, I guess. Part 2 actually has Namis, that's very cool. So by pulling here a lot, you can get some good Super Tandem dupes, either Kid Law or Nami. And then on part 3 they put the Rush Sanji. So I want to point out the fact that part 1 had a Rush unit in Gear 5 Luffy, or Rush, I guess. Part 2 has a Rush unit in Sanji, and part 3, maybe Kaido. That's my assumption now, at least, that we're getting a Kaido, and that he will be a Rush. Could be exciting, but as for Treasure Map or Kizuna, we'll see what they do. Anyway, in this video I just want to go over all of the new characters. I'll probably do a deep down into Law and Kid tomorrow before the Sugo drops. Part 1 will drop this Saturday, then part 2 on Sunday I presume, and then part 3 on Monday, where the PKA should also start. But I will talk about Law and Kid last because there's the most to talk about. There's not a lot to talk about the other units really. But yeah, we got a new killer. Let's talk about him briefly. Driven Slasher Int. Potential ability that only reduces 3 CD. This is... I don't know why they did this. This is just dumb. Just make him 9 CD instead, like it doesn't matter. Just a waste. And I want to continue that they keep giving a lot of units crit. Let me double check the others. Does Bepo get crit? Nope. Any of the others? Nope. Well, that is a crit, so okay. 2 of them go crit. Because we know some crit related mechanic is coming, but crit is pretty common anyway, so it might not mean anything. As for the special, it reduces damage reduction. Int CD reduction user can also reduce the switch effect of Int by 1. And they do an ore boost for Int and Psi, and if you have an ore boost you do a Death Down conditional instead. And this Death Down conditional is meant to pair well with Kid and Law, that does the Death Down through full immunity. So yeah, pretty whatever unit, pretty decent rare recruit. Reducing switch with special is interesting, but overall I don't think it's a super amazing unit. Support is really good for Kid though. You resist special reverse, that is always very usable. And Kid and Law also has a swap to remove special binds, so with this support they can get past anything basically. And crewmate abilities, yeah, pretty much the expected, not much to say here. As for the Bepo unit, he's pretty similar to Killer even with this. As said, this is so dumb, make him 9 CD instead. As for the special, he reduces damage threshold, reduces CD and swap for Psi, so mirrors Killer basically. Does an attack boost for Psi and Int, and if you already have an attack boost, you do Death Down instead. So yeah, there's not much to say here. It's basically a Psi version of Killer, removes a different debuff and gives another buff. That's basically it. Pretty good to get a good Bepo unit, I guess, but support also pretty good. At battle 2 you reduce switch effect by 1. And yeah, that's cool. I would have liked if it was both the swap and CD, but can't complain, I guess. Interesting concept, and a way for a support. We'll definitely see some play, I presume. But with that, let's talk about Legends. And I only go through their PvE kits here. When I do individual videos, I'll talk a bit about PvP as well. But yeah, Big Mom, the first Super Sugos Fest Big Mom. It feels way too late for that, but they finally did it, I guess, at the latest possible opportunity. And as you see, this Big Mom is a Dex unit, which is really cool. Driven Powerhouse is stock standard. But yeah, I think they did a good job. This is one of those weird units where this unit has basically 0 creativity. There's not much unique going on, but I'm still very excited and probably one of the strongest legends in the game. But yeah, I've been pretty desperate to get a new variant of the Super Sugos Fest Robin. And it's what this unit does. Like, we don't even need to read the special. This is basically a copy of Robin, but 2 other classes. So Robin was mainly Cerebral. This is mainly Driven. Secondary for Robin was Free Spirit. Secondary here is Powerhouse. Robin did Death Down. Big Mom does Ignite. Robin also does a Death Down conditional. Big Mom does the Ignite conditional. And of course the main draw here is adding another stackable buff. You can stack 2 conditionals. So with Robin you could get her Death Down and maybe an increased damage taking conditional. And with Big Mom you can get like an Ignite conditional and maybe a delay conditional. Who knows, you can mix and match as needed. So I'm just very excited about this, just for having some more variation in like Super Boss team building. It's not anymore that, okay, I need to fit Robin, how do I make it work? Now it's like, I don't have to fit Robin, I can fit Big Mom instead, and just a lot of other options. And Driven getting it in particular is very exciting, since Driven is one of the best classes. This was just a tool they lacked that they have now, so now they can really showcase its potential. There is a bit more to talk about the cap though, because the way I see it, Big Mom is best as captain, especially since her EX is pretty good and pretty easy to activate. But there might be some problems with the captain. Like, it's like Robin is a bit like whatever captain, nothing special going on here. But yeah, a bit of a speedrun captain, a lot of HP, boost Driven and Powerhouse, which is expected, can go up to 6 times attack when they have Recovery, Stamina and 1 slot. And the big issue here is the fact that she makes Dex quick into Semla, and the problem here is consistency with getting tandem orbs, because tandem orbs are still as important as ever. I made a video very recently, maybe this week, end of last week, talking about how good Super Tandem is. And if you want to make a good team for Super Boss, you need Super Tandem, and making tandem orbs more RNG is not good. It's an issue some legends have, like Legend King has a potential similar problem. But here the issue is that any Dex and Quick are automatically Semla, so there are quite a few roles you can get that is Semla, and even if you tap with Dex and Quick Orb, it's not guaranteed to turn into any other orb, you can roll Dex or Quick again, and it remains Semla. And yeah, it's just a bit unfortunate since you probably want to use her as captain, but this can mess up the orb money for the final stage. Other than that, she can keep recovery Semla by hitting perfects. Or not like that, it's more like you can heal HP when hitting perfects. And you also heal HP by killing enemies. That's pretty standard for many Big Mom legends. So pretty boring cap. 6 times attack is obviously strong, but might not be the best captain for Super Boss. I think her EX is fantastic. I'd say easily best EX in the game so far. Not much competition, but for what it is, it's amazing. And the main thing that makes this amazing is 2 things. First, very easy to activate. You need one specific unit, and you have Kaido there, and basically any driven team you build for Super Boss can easily fit a Kaido. And if not, like we have a very good Perospero legend, you can probably fit as well on a very optimal team. So getting this activated should not be an issue. Another thing that is really good is that she changes Driven and Powerhouse to Superclass. Basically, a lot of Driven are also Powerhouse, so this is like a very big attack boost right away. So of course Big Mom herself gets benefit of this, but other units as well. And if you build, say, the versus Kaido optimal team, you can use Big Mom as captain, you get the Superclass Driven and Powerhouse, and pair with something like Legend King, V2 King, get that super type int, and you got a really good combo to get a lot of extra buffs. And not only that, you also get a very good color affinity 2.5 times, and you have the potential to change her Semla orbs to Wano. Not really sure how I feel about that. Maybe in the future where Driven or Powerhouse Dex is really good, then sure, if you get matching orbs with Dex, that's a Semla orb, then it's easy to set up for Wano orb. So I don't think this is super relevant right now, but maybe the upcoming Legend Kaido, Super Sugos Kaido, the new one, coming in a few weeks, will also be Dex, and we can start building something new there. Just something to keep an eye out, I'd say. Is there anything else to say about Big Mom? Support is also a copy of Robin, funnily. It's like they went out of the way to copy anything. Final Tap is also very similar to Robin, but honestly, this is like the standard Final Tap. You double the chain. But you also increase the multiplier of Semla and Wano slots for Big Mom, so you do a bit more damage, so it's a bit better version of the standard Final Tap, so can't complain. As said, Final Tap is not that important, but like when using the Robin version of this, who also has Final Tap, it's just a nice bonus sometimes. It's not required to be used, it can be a good bonus. Usually this Big Mom will more likely maybe be part of a Super Tandem chain potentially. Depends on what Super Tandem user you use. Some include Big Mom, some does not. But yeah, I think that's it to say about Big Mom. Honestly, not a lot to talk about. It's the same as Robin, different classes. You have to own this unit. You don't need more than one copy. That's basically it. So probably not a good skip. Finally, Kid Law. This is easily the one we can talk the most about. And I went from pretty positive to pretty lukewarm to pretty good, yeah. Like they are pretty good, but I don't feel like they are like you have to rainbow them pretty good. I wouldn't go that far. I will go so far as to say that they are probably the perfect companion to Gear 5 Luffy, but it's not like they are an essential best ally either. It's like the main fact is that there are at least one very good replacement to them, but we can get to that later. For now, let's talk about how they work. In duo form, they are free spirit driven. I thought that in solo classes, Law will be free spirit slasher and Kid driven striker. And as you see, I was correct with Law, but for Kid, driven free spirit. Like, the only reason this makes sense is because they want the Kid solo form to also work with Gear 5, which I can respect, but you can't tell me that these classes make sense. Like, this is BS. It should be driven and striker, really. But it is what it is. It does make the unit work better in general, I will say that. An interesting part with this unit is that their captain abilities changes a bit. Law is a bit more of a speedrun captain, -2 CD for Psi and Int. And he reduces his own swap by 1 turn. Kid is the opposite, he's -1 CD, but he reduces his own swap by 2. And that's a pretty big deal because Kid and Law super swap is 8 times. So if you start with Kid Captain, you start with -2 CD. If you get super swap reduction from like treasure map or such, it's usually 5 turns. This means you're immediately down to 7 CD. And then every time an int unit uses a special, you're instantly charged. So pretty interesting option. And yeah, in Kid gets his super swap reduced when int uses a special, and for Law it's when Psi uses a special. So I'd say that they are pretty similar to Luffy Yamato in that they have very high CD, but they have some ways to mitigate that as captain. But I will say that Kid and Law are a lot better design. Like, using Luffy Yamato and trying to set up their super swap as efficiently as possible is a nightmare. There's no better word to describe it. It is actual hell. But for Kid and Law, it's going to be pretty chill, I'd say. Like, even without getting any reduction or such, you can probably set it up pretty realistically without too much hassle, which is amazing and pretty incredible since 8 CD swap. A big problem does remain though in the fact that they will be a pretty good sub, but as sub, you don't get any of this reduction. You are stuck with 8 CD as a sub, and that is a big issue with this unit. Anyway, let's talk a bit about their duo cap. They are a Psi and Int captain, 1.3 times HP, minimum 5 times attack. Psi and Int has minimum 5.5 times attack, and you can go up to 6 times attack if you continue hitting perfects. Psi in tandem, matching slot effects, and reduce the character swap effect by 1 every time a Psi or Int crewmate uses a special. I don't think that last one matters because when you are in duo form, like, well, I guess you can be in duo form without the super swap being launched, so maybe some niche scenario with that, but yeah, a bit whatever. Pretty good attack, but there is literally 0 utility in this captain, which is a big issue for normal content. So this is basically Bandai saying that, yeah, you don't want to use this unit for normal content. This is a super boss unit, which is usually the focus with Super Sugos Fest in general. As for the special, there is 2 variants, one in solo form, one in duo form. If you go to solo special first, you set defense to 0 for 1 turn, which ignores everything, so very good special. There is very few immunity ignoring death down conditionals. Like, I think Robin is the only one, so this is the second one, and Robin is only on 80% death down. This is a 100% death down, which is going to age really well. One thing to point out is that they do go through full immunity to apply death down, but they themselves don't apply a death down conditional. I will say that if they did that, this unit will be amazing. Now, that does hold them back a bit. Still very good, but with that, they will have been a much bigger consideration for people like us, like me, who could consider spending the gems to rainbow a unit like this. But yeah, they also do a lot of damage in type damage to all enemies, changes crew slots including block to tandem. Cyan Ink gets a 3x attack boost for 1 turn, and they also buff how much extra color affinity you get from super type. Usually it's 2.5 times, but it gets buffed to 3 times, so that's pretty good in general. The fun thing here I noticed is that the text is a bit different in the solo special than in the duo special, because let's see if they changed it or if the issue is still here. Yeah, I don't get how they do this, because in the solo special they accurately describe that they just buff super type, and here they managed to make it sound super convoluted. It sounds like you get 2 different buffs here. It says boost Cyan Ink character super type effects for 2 turns and boost damage delta affected types by 3 times for 2 turns. That makes it sound like, okay, we buff super type and we buff how, like, the normal value for color affinity. Like, that sounds amazing. 2 unique buffs, but it's only 1. The second part here after the and just describes how much the super type is buffed, because it's normally 2.5 times, gets buffed to 3 times. So yeah, just a regular global L in terms of translations. Like, it's just a bad translation. That's big misinformation. So we're going to get the customary Apollo game for this, like it's every Sugo Fest nowadays. Anyway, as for the duo special, the biggest change is the fact that Law and Kids special now goes through everything. And not just their special, but every special ignores defense, defensive effects, and normal attacks only. So they add that effect, then they themselves do a 500 times nuke in type damage to all enemies. And then you can set up other units after, like suddenly you can use a unit like V2 Doflamingo against everything. I will say that the thought of using that is super exciting, a unit like that. Like, obviously V2 Doflamingo does not have the best synergy with this Psi Int focused unit, but a unit like V1 Mihawk could also see some real use with something like this. So just a fun new toolkit to use. And with the way the captain works, it is a bit more realistic to use the super swap to get into duo form than with Luffy Yamato. So this can be an actual legit and fun meme to use. So a very unique and cool effect, with the negative that you kind of have to use Kid and Law as captain, and they aren't the best captain since they are just numbers and no utility. Other than that, it's a bigger attack boost and it lasts for 2 turns, and super type buff is also 2 turns now, so pretty minor. And I guess it's nice since basically all the good stuff you also get without being in duo form, so you don't have to like go out of your way to become duo form. Kind of like with Luffy Yamato, because if you use Luffy Yamato's normal special, it's basically a fart, where this is not too far away from the real deal. So far everything sounds pretty good. We can talk about the swap, since that's pretty funny too. The fun thing with the swap for me is that the normal swap is a 100% copy of V2 Viva and Becca. You swap, remove special bind, get a chain multiplier boost. I think the value is the same as well. Might be a bit lower for Viva Rebecca, but even so, like, it's the same swap. So, and I don't know why they decided that it would remove special bind, like their special does not remove it. So it's a pretty niche thing. Could see some use, but it's not like their special has super utility anyway. I doubt you'd be able to beat many stages with just this special. You need to use more specials. It's very niche to have units that only remove special bind from themselves, so don't think this will see a lot of use in general. But chain multiplier boost is one of the best swap effects in general. And with the super swap, you get a bigger chain multiplier boost, and you become duo type. So Super Swap in general is pretty bland, but of course becoming duo unit is pretty important for this unit. Now I'd like to go into some things that I feel hold back this unit a lot, and it's going to be about the EX Super and Super Tandem. I feel like they are very confusing because usually when we have conditions, they like to keep it consistent. We have similar units in the Super Tandem and the Super Type, EX Super in this case, but here it's like all over the place, and I feel like the conditions it's hard for me to see a very good team being built within these ramifications. If we start with the EX Super, the first thing to note here is that Lion Kid is the first unit ever who can use the EX as a sub, which is obviously a huge boom. I will say that one negative with this EX Super, if we go to the bottom, is that it changes Psi and Int to Super Psi and Super Int, so obviously you don't really get the full benefit of EX here, since you only want the Psi or Int, you never want both at once. So I'm not gonna say it's bad, it's just less valuable than like the Gear 5 Luffy or the new Big Mom, V5 Big Mom. But the main problem here is the activation requirements. So first you need to become duo form, which makes sense because when you swipe down with a duo unit you swap, but when you're in duo form and you can't swipe down to do anything, so that becomes the EX Super then. Something they could have added a long time ago, but they finally did it, and it makes duo units a lot better going forward, if they get it, so to say. But the problem here is that you need 2 specific units on the crew. And it says here, you need a Luffy, Zoro, Drake, Bepo, Chambar, Chachi, Penguin, Killer, Heat, or Vire. And yeah. Like, what 2 units here are fitting? Like, Luffy is going to be easy. Like, don't get me wrong. Luffy is free. But after that, like, who do you fit on a good team to get this EX Super? Like, you'd think right away, oh, Zoro. She'll probably have some good unit that fits, but I wouldn't say that right now. Like, maybe some niche, like, you could fit a Zoro or a Bepo or a Killer that does the death down conditional, and that's okay, I guess, but then you're wasting 1 of 6 slots on a unit who just does a death down conditional, which is probably not optimal in general, but might be a worthwhile trade-off. Have to wait and see. But like Zoro, like the 2 best Zoro units, like the Half-Handed Zoro and the Super Tandem Zoro, both have pretty bad synergy with this kid. Like, if we talk Half-Handed Zoro, like his unique thing is the chain buffs, and Kid and Law has one of those chain buffs. It's a bit of like a waste. The Zoro does less, but the increased chain growth rate that Zoro does is kind of good too, so might be worth it just for that. And then for Super Tandem Zoro, I was going to get to that, but Kid and Law is basically a side grade to Super Tandem Zoro. Like, Super Tandem Zoro has an attack boost, Kid and Law has an attack boost. Super Tandem Zoro has a really good Super Tandem, Kid and Law, really good Super Tandem. And Super Tandem Zoro can set up a death down conditional, and Kid and Law can kind of set up a conditional. Okay, Zoro is not death conditional, it's increased damage taking conditional, but both can set up an additional conditional. Like, Kid and Law does it guaranteed with death down. Zoro has some requirements with orbs, and he's at 1 orb, stuff like that. And Zoro can be used with Free Spirit Slashers, while Kid and Law is only Psi and Int. And that's the main reason I'd say that Zoro is actually better, because Psi and Int is pretty restrictive, and these units do basically nothing for any other color, but Super Tandem Zoro is great for every color. as long as you run a free spirit slasher team. So as someone like me who has Zoro maxed, I see little reason to max these guys. Like, they have pros, of course, that I've already gone through, like buffing super type, really good, everything like that. And if we talk about the concept of Gear 5, like Gear 5 Orb Boost, Color Affinity increases the multiplier of Psi Orbs to 3 times. Then you can law with the Psi and Int attack boost. You get the super type buff, like great combination that way. So very good synergy like that. I say with Gear 5 they're definitely better. But Zoro is still a really good partner to Gear 5 as well, which I've talked about and showed before. Might as well talk about the super type, and like the effect is good. It's a 2.75 times Psi and Int attack boost, which makes it basically as good as Zoro and Nami from what I can see. They are like 2.25 times, and you can get a bit extra buffs to conditional. So I say that all 3 of them are on the same level, like it's the 3 best super tandems in the game. But the issue here is again with the activation requirements. And yeah, you need a Luffy, Killer or Bepo. And it's like, yeah, that's great. You have to put Gear 5 Luffy on the team anyway. But if you run Kid Law in Gear 5 Luffy against Int content, who do you want to use as final tap? Gear 5 Luffy. Can you use Luffy Rush at the end and Super Tandem? No, you can't use them together, so you need to fit 2 Luffy. You can't just use Gear 5, you need another Luffy as well. And if you don't use a Luffy, well, you need a Killer or a Bepo. And as you know, like trying to fit a Killer or a Bepo in an optimal damage team is no easy task. So I definitely say this also holds back this unit by quite a bit. Like the other unit, you have a lot of choices, like Luffy, Killer, Bepo, Zoro, like all the Straw Hats and Yamato and X-Drake and even Marco. Like you have so much choices for the other unit, but you have to fit a Luffy, Killer or Bepo. Insane to me. Like, these are the key things holding this unit back. Like, first the fact that they are Psi Int monocolor, then the fact that their EX Super and Super Tandem has such convoluted requirements, and then the fact that they aren't even clear-cut the best at what they do. They are basically a Psi grade Super Tandem Zoro, and I'd probably say that in general Super Tandem Zoro is better. So is it really worth rainbowing these units then? Not really. So I'll settle for a copy, I'd say. So pretty chill Super Sugo then, as long as I can get some pretty normal luck. I just need to pick up a Lawing Kid and a Big Mom and I'll be happy. Well, this video went on for long, so I think I'll stop there. As said, I'll try and make individual videos for both Lawing Kid and Big Mom ahead of the Super Sugo release. So yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.